The Electoral Commission on Wednesday began the process to select the IT firm that will be responsible for electronically transmitting election results once voting ends this December.
The shortlisted companies over the 3-day period will have to demonstrate with presentations to political parties and civil society groups how they intend to execute the transmission of results on election day. The Commission's decision to electronically transmit results from the coalition centers generated some controversy when the New Patriotic Party raised questions about its legality. 3 companies are said to have been shortlisted for the tender process, with the tender committee looking to select one of them. Confirming the selection exercise to Joy News, Deputy Head of Communications at the Electoral Commission, Yusufa Yuba, said the tender committee, made up of other external persons, will take a decision after the 3-day exercise.
No, it's a 3-day process. So we'll go through all the processes. We'll do the evaluation, and the best company would be selected at the end of the process. It's not only members of the EC who is on the panel. We have people from external bodies also on the panel. So I'm sure when we finish the program, we should be able to give you all the members of the committee. We are not being secret. That is why we have our major stakeholders, the political parties, here to observe. We have members of the civil society and to also
decision.
Meanwhile, former President John Agyekum Kufuor is urging the Electoral Commission to be open and transparent in its dealings, even as it prepares to meet political parties, civil society groups and other stakeholders today for the second phase of its demonstrations of the e-transmission process.
In an interview with Joy News, former President Kufuor said current development regarding what the EC is doing ahead of the polls in December this year have made Ghanaians nervous, adding that the Commission needs to be more transparent in its dealings to avert any possible violence in this year's elections.
I say wherever there's power, there's tension. People are struggling to see if they can get it. So they would be the managers of all. This is the source of the tension. But we should be able, with our evolution and maturation, to manage the institutions, especially the Electoral Commission, in such a way as to give transparent, free and fair election that will be respected across the board.
President John Dramani Mahama has rejected calls for government to discontinue its 3-year program with the International Monetary Fund.
While the Trades Union Congress at its 10th Quadrennial Delegates Congress in Kumasi in the Ashanti region asked that government abandon the 3-year extended credit facility because it says it has failed to address the socio-economic needs of the country and is rather leaving ordinary citizens poorer. Secretary General Kofi Asamoah announced to loud cheers from a number of factors to back the call for government to part ways with the IMF and revert to homegrown fiscal policies that came out of the Sinchi consensus.
Rise of awareness has been trampled upon. The favor of our nations are persistent. Inflation is rising, and really they are finding God according to really make us. Beyond that, we know interest rates, unstable currency, unstable power supply, $9 on people, and the young earnings are quickly eroding against our social plan. Mr. President, the economy is still weak, and our cyber negative effects on living standards across all economic groups in the country. The very significant number of our contractors are suffering at the same level of poverty and destitution. Well, Excellence, these policies are not the next scientific water every other level. The idea of the government to apply the idea and reflect the
And President Mahama, who was at the Congress in Kumasi, however, justified the IMF bailout, saying it was in the best interests of the country.
He told the TUC delegates government will resort to homegrown policies upon completion of the program.
The 3-year extended credit facility straddles an election year. I decided on this deliberately because election year over expenditure has been the bane of our economic stability. I'm happy to note that this year, even though an election year, expenditure targets are still on track. And I intend to stick strictly to the budget and the Appropriations Act as approved by Parliament. And this is why I appeal to CLOSAC members to return to work. Ladies and gentlemen, acceding to demands to pay interim premiums will throw the budget completely off track and make nonsense of the sacrifices we have made together over the last year. I wish to assure you that it is government's intention to implement a comprehensive policy on payment of premiums starting from next year. And I've asked the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations to enter into an MOU with CLOSAC to this effect. I wish to reiterate my earlier statement that this is our ultimate IMF program. We're almost there. We'll finish hard. Next year is the last year of the program. And we'll go back to this homegrown fiscal policy.
Some of the delegates who spoke with Joy News endorsed calls for government to do away with the IMF program.
Most of the IMF programs don't work in any country. I think that as a country we can be very disciplined and do the little things that we're expecting the IMF to hold us in check to do it. If we do that, we wouldn't need the IMF to be able to direct us. And you know, the IMF, they don't understand the African condition. So they bring measures which at the long run make people lose their jobs. And that's what we don't want as workers.
And is it a way to say that you are disappointed in the president's response because he didn't say that he was going to suspend it?
Definitely, we are not happy about that. But I think this is what we've always seen, that when government take a stand, they always want to stick to it. So they realize that it's not working anymore. And we are not surprised at the posture, but we keep pushing, expecting that things will happen in our interest.
Are you satisfied with the kind of response that the president, the first gentleman of the country, gave that indeed the IMF program is the ultimate for Ghana?
No, at all. I'm never satisfied with this, response, in the sense that, typical of politicians, they always try to, try to neutralize, whatever position that you are espousing to suit whatever, policies that, they are, propagating. And I think that he could have done better if he had given some assurances as to whether they accept the position that we hold, that adopting IMF policies is not the way to go, and rather we should look at our situation and then try to develop at least policies and programs that best suits our critical problems that we are going through now. And I think that moving forward, it is about time that they engage stakeholders.
And the National Health Insurance Authority has cautioned the private health insurance companies to work exclusively with service providers who have obtained their credentials from the authority.
Addressing a forum of private health insurance companies, the NHIA said they would begin strict enforcement of the law that mandates the service providers to be accredited. The board secretary and head of private health insurance schemes at the NHIA, Dinah Oye Ahene, said the service providers are mandated under Act 852 to seek accreditation as a means of ensuring quality healthcare provision. She, however, says a number of them have not complied with this directive since the law was passed.
Must be very careful in dealing with a scheme that is not credentialed, because when such issues happen and they write to us, the first thing we check is whether that provider is credentialed. A few lawyers have come to my office, and apparently the providers did not do the right thing. So I showed them this act, this portion of the Act, Section 100, and they were very worried that that was not done. So immediately they went and asked for it. I must say that it wasn't so much of the fault of the providers too, because this was not being enforced previously. When the law came into force at 852, they were already doing this business without that. So it was sort of after the acts. And so we're encouraging all of them, but they've been recalcitrant. They're giving them a long time. So in issuing a license to a PHIS, what we do is that you are supposed to work with only credentialed schemes, because if you don't, and we come around, we could withdraw your license.
The LIP program, according to the Minister for Gender and Social Protection, has significantly increased enrollment in public schools by some 12%.
Nana Oyelita, who is the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, said this at the national launch of the free registration for the beneficiaries of the Social Intervention Program onto the National Health Insurance Scheme. The free registration and enrollment, according to the Minister, is in fulfillment of the NDC's promise to make positive difference in the lives of the vulnerable and also achieving universal health coverage for the Ghanaian population.
It was all smiles for beneficiaries of the LIP program within the La Nkwantanan Madina municipality during the national launch of the exercise. There are currently 147,881 out of the 2.26 million people classified as extremely poor in the country, registered and benefiting from the program. To consolidate the gains made so far on the program to cover health needs of the poor, some LIP beneficiaries were enrolled onto the National Health Insurance Scheme. Speaking at the launch, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelita, explained how the intervention would help reduce the healthcare expenditure among the vulnerable.
In 2013, we had an impact assessment, and it showed clearly that LEAP has had a positive impact on healthcare, education. It has increased enrollment by 12%, and this can be directly linked to LEAP and productivity in the local economy. There was also an assessment by CDD in 2015. This survey was to ascertain the extent to which LEAP had had an influence on the living conditions of beneficiaries. This showed a clear positive impact and a clear positive difference in the lives of beneficiaries, in the lives of poor.
Speaking at the program, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Nathaniel Otu, promised to work closely with the authority at the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program to make the intervention a success.
As a country, as you know, we've made one of the greatest inroads on poverty reduction on the African continent. Over the past 20 years, this country continually has reduced poverty to the extent that core poverty is 8.4% of our population. As we develop and grow as a country, this would probably go down. But as a matter of fact, when you talk about poverty, it's everywhere. It's a human phenomenon. we can't wish it away. It is what we do to the poor and vulnerable that is important.
Other beneficiaries of the program, according to Nana Oyelitha, are prison inmates and school children benefiting from the school feeding program nationwide.
Well, in other sectors, Ghana's job market, what is choked with thousands of employment-seeking graduates from various tertiary institutions, is forcing innovation out of some of these young people.
One of such budding graduates is Zakia Suleiman, who gave up on securing a white-collar job after several failed attempts. Her Hausa Cocoa breakfast service has become one of the most sought after at 2 joints here in Accra and Koforidua. Zakia's business venture is still at the developing phase as she is continuing to lay the structures, but she tells our colleague Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin she is awaiting final certification from the Food and Drugs Authority to launch into full-scale operation.
Zakia Suleiman is making strides in her new business she says has good prospects.
I started my first production in April, and I produce small quantity and make sure all my friends buy it because I was using them as my product first. So after that, they also suggested what need to be added and what need to be taken out. So after that, I moved to my second production, and they also informed their friends about it. Then I moved to my third production. There I came out with 2 types of Asali Hausa cocoa. That's one which is very hot and one which is mild.
She wants to become one of the leading producers of local food in Ghana. Asali, or indigenous Hausa cocoa, is spiced with pepper and ginger, among other local spices, to give that memorable flavor. 26-year-old Zakia, who graduated from the University of Ghana in 2013, supplies the packaged local beverages to patrons on the street of Accra.
One thing I like about the product is it's very easy to prepare, and then I think I look at the ingredients, I realize it's made up of millet and other, which I think is very nutritious. It's very easy to prepare. So all I need to do is to get my hot water, mix it up, and then I'm done.
Like any startup business, she faces some challenges.
The biggest challenge is I don't have enough funding. So I don't have machines of my own, and 2, I don't own a shop right now because I do direct distribution. That I meet my clients at a particular place, and also because we're in the rainy season, so sometimes meeting them is a little bit difficult. We had to reschedule to another day.
Zakia needs funding to sustain the business and hope that dream will be realized soon. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
I love Zakia. I love it. Reminds me, I think I need to start a business in that area, in my community. Well, that'll be it for the news for the morning. As always, you want to get interactive, we have our WhatsApp platform through the number 0560 800,000.
Stay with us as we check out what's in the newspapers up next here on our show.
Do stay on.